in regards to training future teachers and what the future holds for AI for us in these roles. So as we're letting a few more people in, I'm looking at the waiting room. Let me wait one more second here. We'll get started. Again, welcome to Teach for the Bay. This is our first Teach for the Bay that focuses on professionals who are helping future teachers. And so we're assuming that all of you um, are interested in helping both our students who want to work with children and youth and who want to be teachers, and also helping you with your own AI awareness and AI capabilities. So we're launching this with this first AI workshop on training future teachers, the changing classroom and AI. I'd like to introduce our panelists, and we will start off with Angel Fuentes from Evergreen Valley College, and he has a key role in the Chancellor's Office, Community College Chancellor's Office, which he'll be explaining to you in promoting AI and also assisting our faculty throughout California become more AI aware and AI competent and confident. And so he'll be kicking us off. Then we have Chessa Capares from De Anza College. And she also has a critical role in promoting AI through both her college, but on a wider lens. She can tell you about her various roles in this field. And the De Anza Foothill District is hosting actually an AI center for Northern California. I don't, Chess, is it Northern California or the whole state?
I believe it's the whole state, the
The
digital
whole state.
center.
So we, Ground Zero, the AI center is in her district. And so they have been cultivating both faculty and staff who have skills in AI. So she'll be explaining what her role is. And then we have Norma Jones. She's coming to us from Southern California. Hi, Norma. And she does lots of kind of hands-on training for teachers on how AI can help them do their jobs better. And maybe, Norma, you could share a little bit about what might be in the future, how um, the job of helping students could be actually eased using AI. Um, and then you have me, I'll be facilitating and I'll be your whatever panel lead. And I'm probably the least qualified and capable in AI. So I'm learning with you. And I coordinate the ECE and EDU regional joint venture for the Bay region on teacher pathways and pipelines. And we also have Tracy Burt, who is here, who is faculty at City College of San Francisco, but also leads an apprenticeship program and is here as the coordinator of the Teach for the Bay efforts. So that's us, and we are going to start with Angel. And by the way, he is joining us from Sweden. He's on vacation, and he's so committed that he's joining us from Sweden. So thank you. Our hats off to you, and Angel Fuentes.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. And it's not, I am here, but Zoom seems to be working fine from here. So happy to join and to discuss the initiatives from the State Chancellor's Office. I was going to go over this slide, but I'm just going to mention something else that is not on this slide. This is just some of the previous work that I've done over the course of many years now, including this picture, which is, I don't know, like 13 years old now. But I'm happy to discuss the Chancellor's Office initiatives. And something that is not in this slide, I don't know why I didn't put it in here, I forgot. Something that we're doing at Evergreen Valley College, and I see one of my faculty members is here as well that is leading this work, is that we started a non-credit teacher credential programming for adult education teachers. So we are very excited about it. We did this in partnership with Santa Clara Adult Education, and the goal is to train adult education teachers, mostly folks that already have credentials, right? That already have teaching credentials, but to train them for free, because system credit, to become adult education teachers, and hopefully that'll help with the shortage of those professionals in the state. So we're doing it online on Saturdays. The first class already, it's going on. We're going to start on a cohort in the spring. More information on our website if you want to know more about it. But we are very, very, the faculty have been amazing doing this work. So I couldn't have asked for better faculty to teach this and to develop this program with our partners. And last thing I'll say is, if you see me mute, it's to cough because I seem to have caught a cold on my way here, so I'm a little bit under the weather, but not too bad, not too bad. All right, next slide. So I'm going to give you an overview of many of the initiatives that the state has right now. I'll try to go over this, not take too much of your time. I'll highlight the big ones, and then I'll also try to include information about why is this important for teachers, teacher credentialing, for education, etc., and for you in terms of not only professional development, but to be aware of the things that are coming from the state chancellor's office. So we're doing a lot in literacy, but also workforce readiness, and we're partnering with many of the big players. So right now we have we have these partnerships established and sort of starting to be developed. Some of these, nothing's been done yet because we're still trying to figure out certain things, but they have been announced. Other ones have run a little longer now and have had some results. So I'll try to highlight those and tell you which ones are harder to apply to this field, but which ones are really prime for all of you and many more, and anyone else in the system that wants to benefit from this. So we have our partners with Adobe, Google, IBM, Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Salesforce. Those are our big partnerships that we're working on right now. We've, as I said before, focused on literacy, but also workforce readiness. On faculty professional development, the one that I lead mainly myself is 100% focused right now on faculty professional development. And then we also want to include some initiatives in cloud integration. Why it matters: modernizing teaching, especially with AI tools, expand the access. One of the things that always happens is technology is expensive and only those who can afford it get to use it first and get to basically benefit from it first and develop greater take over the system. So we're trying to do it in a way that everyone's included, that it's accessible to all our students and all our faculty and employees, etc., for free, so that we can all benefit from it. As I said before, provide training and support, and then also create new career apprenticeship pathways. That's something that we're just starting to work on right now. Next slide, Kathleen. So the first one, Adobe, this was mostly focused on the Creative Cloud. And so you'll see many initiatives coming up. This was in development right now, and more information will come out soon. A lot of the things that we're trying to develop is not only for students in credentialing with industry recognized credentials, but also create a faculty learning community to also give the faculty the opportunity to get some of these credentials. This is, again, an equity-focused work that we want to really highlight because it'll help not only the faculty, the instructors, and the students develop their creativity and use tools that are now becoming even more important in these fields as more and more is, more software upgrades and updates, and how, the more AI evolves, the more this field changes and the support for this field changes. So we want to make sure that our faculty have the latest and greatest in that. Next slide. The Google career certificates and AI tools, this is the one that I think is the most exciting for everyone, for a wide variety, for students, for faculty, for employees, for staff, for everyone. It's literally just directed at giving everyone in the community college system the opportunity to get Google certificates. These are industry recognized, and they go from the basic essentials of AI to the really complicated high-level stuff. Data analytics, if you wanted to data science, data analytics, if you ever wanted to learn about that field, an incredible field with lots of jobs out there, especially more and more every day. That's something that we'll be able to provide you with a certificate for free, hopefully, at least for the first year. We're working on then expanding that and making sure that it's available forever for all our students. That's my goal, at least. We like to basically put students through certificate programs that are Google recognized, Google run, etc. There'll be teacher trainer programs, and also some certification for professional development in AI for faculty, staff, etc. And the tools, some of the tools that we already know, like Gemini Notebook LM and so on. Right now, Google is working on building what's it called? An integration for Notebook LM into Canvas. And so faculty will be able to learn how to use Notebook LM embedded into Canvas to create tutors, to create more support for students when you're not available, to do many more things, to create videos, to create audio explaining concepts for students to listen to watch, etc. And it literally takes just a couple of clicks. Yes, our goal is to make these Google certificates free. Sorry, I saw this question pop up. We are giving access to everyone. This is why this program is right now in development, because a lot of our college districts use Microsoft as our platforms. So we're having a little issue. How do we do it for everyone at once when some of us are on Google systems and some of us are on Microsoft systems? Once we solve this problem, this issue, we'll be able to scale it to everyone and release it. It's been announced though, so it's something that we know it's coming. And it matters because, again, it gives students, it gives faculty, it gives employees, staff, etc., an opportunity to obtain an industry recognized credential for them, for their betterment, for the professional development, for their classes, and for students to get jobs, etc. So this one is really exciting. All right, next slide. With IBM, it's similar to what we've been doing with other companies. We're trying to focus on IT careers especially, but also data analytics and other ones. It also, like the Google one, is exciting because it gives the opportunity for students and staff to create or to get industry recognized credentials. And so there's a possibility in the future for research collaboration, and we're exploring what that'll look like. But just like the Google initiative, it really bridges education and workforce needs and provides opportunities for faculty to learn more about these fields. Next slide. Now, the Microsoft one is something that has been going on for a while now. We're looking at integrating, not only just give faculty the chance to learn more about the Microsoft courses and how they're integrating AI into their systems, into 365, etc., but also to teach them about the integration of Copilot. So now that you use, let's say you have a PC, basically every single PC now comes, if it's Windows 11, has Copilot embedded into it. And so even your Microsoft Word is reading, your Copilot is reading your Microsoft Word documents, even if you don't know it. It's looking at your Excel documents, etc. So how to teach faculty how to use that to their benefit at that point. This is not something that we activated. This is something that Microsoft did for their systems, and that we all basically are using just because they updated it that way. All right, next slide. This is my little baby. This is the NVIDIA initiative. This is the one that I lead myself fully. This one is not as useful for, I will say it out loud, I guess not as useful for folks that are not in the AI, computer science, IT fields. This one is right now concentrating on training faculty through the Deep Learning Institute. So to go through this, you would have to know Python programming at an advanced level, but also understand what deep learning is already to be able to go through this. So this is really focused on computer science professionals. But in that same way, it's a teach the trainer program in which faculty will learn how to teach these concepts and give this credential out to students once they complete the entire certificate process. It's a very high level certificate. It is very complicated. Even NVIDIA has told us that their pass rate for their own numbers that they have they've been teaching this course for a couple of years, their pass rate is 50%. So it's a high level one, and that's why I don't think it's as applicable to this group, but still something that we're excited about to give to the people that do qualify for this and are interested in these fields. Next slide. And then one of the last ones that we would love to, or that we're highlighting, it's the Salesforce work. This one, we're hoping to really put apprenticeships in the forefront of the community colleges and our students, to put them in the forefront of these fields. So we'll love to create some apprenticeships in not just the typical fields, but also in how AI and how all these tools are affecting nursing, I see a certain dean of nursing from Evergreen Valley College, Dr. Prairie, is here, so that's an exciting one right there. Um, and then also in the field that we're in right here, ECE, but also in all the tech fields that I've been discussing so far. So this one connects education with real world innovation and showing how AI can enhance teaching and community-based programs, but also give the students that real world work experience through an apprenticeship, perhaps. Next slide. I think that was my last one. In general, why does this matter for future teachers, for current teachers, etc., for professors, for instructors? An important thing that we're really trying to do is develop AI literacy in students and in all of us. There's a lot of misinformation about what it is and what it can do and how to use it, and what are good uses and bad uses. So we would love to expand that and to make sure people understand those things. To provide creative tools to engage diverse learners, of course, strengthen pedagogy and inclusive access to things, encourage data-informed teaching and ethical use of AI, and also, again, to create those pathways in not just computer science fields, but also education, technology, digital media, and all that. And I think that's it for me. So I'll be here. Any questions, just let us know later on, and I'll be able to answer them.
Great. Thank you so much. Wow. My brain is exploding. Um, uh, we're going to move to our next speaker. We'll have time for questions at the end. But I do want to make sure you answered. There was a question about the Google certificates and if they were free. You might have answered that and I missed it.
I
And
did,
also,
yes.
they are? Okay,
Yes.
great. And people can email you to find out more, or they
Yeah,
can.
and I'll connect. If I don't know myself, I can connect you with the folks that can answer those
Okay,
questions. I'll put my email in the chat so everyone has it and can email me if they have any other
great.
questions.
Thank you so much. Okay, so
Thank
save your
you.
questions. We'll have time for questions at the end. And our next speaker is Francesca Chessa Caparas, and she's going to introduce herself. And we'll be starting. So
Hi.
welcome, Chessa.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. Thanks to Tracy for giving me the shout out that made Kathleen invite me here. And just for some context, my background, I teach English, literature, and Asian American and Asian studies. So I come from a humanities and social science background. And so, one of those things is to look, one of our sort of like foundational goals is to look at sort of systemic inequality, systems of oppression, and from my humanities side, like thinking about what are these deeper questions of like, what does it mean for humans? So when Kathy asked me, like, can you come and like speak to like some of the resistance or distrust or some of the like sort of risks of AI, I was like, I got you. Like, yeah, I can do that. um, just some background, I've been teaching digital literacy since 2010. I mean, I started like talking about social media and search engines and how they're impacting relationships and learning. And so one of the pieces of artwork that you'll see on this slide is actually from a student from about 10 years ago. I've been teaching about technology. And so these questions about kind of what makes us human and like how do we maintain our humanity in the midst of like rapid automation and sort of like the rise of intelligent machines. I just thought that this picture was really important. And I also want to highlight like human creativity, right? Like this is like she hand drew it, she hand colored it. And in contrast with the AI generated anime version of myself that I use for my digital avatar. So kind of just saying that there are so many different types of creativity and we need to honor all of them, but we especially need to value the work that's done by humans. That is what most of these models have been trained on. So I think that that's really important. Also, I've been researching and teaching about AI since 2020. Yes, since before ChatGPT went public, because as we know, AI has been around for decades. And so I started getting interested in this as sort of an outgrowth of my work in like social media and algorithmic bias. And so I've been looking at this for a long time. And in 2022, I did a Fulbright project in the Philippines studying social media disinformation and how it's impacting democracy. And I'm sure we can't see any connections to our current situation. But my big question was like, what is the impact on educators of teaching media and information literacy during times of intense political polarization? And so my focus isn't just on like these tools, but specifically, how does it impact us as teachers and future teachers? Like, what does this mean for what our students are bringing to the classroom, the kinds of issues that we have to talk about, the kinds of like sort of larger social conditions that we are working with when we're working as educators. And so the title of my talk was Facts versus Feelings, the challenges of teaching media and information literacy in the post-truth era. And so I just want to acknowledge that as educators, like there is a significant amount of stress and burden that is placed on us to sort of correct or right the wrongs that are being like perpetuated through other technologies like social media, like the disinformation, and now with AI, that's become even more souped up. This is not to say, I'm not telling people to like, we need to throw AI out and ban it, because I don't think that's going to work either. But this is why we have to understand these impacts so that we can work with them better. And that's going to be kind of like, this is what informs what I'm going to tell you today. So next slide, please. So I think it's really important to acknowledge the risks of new technologies in order to, hold companies and developers accountable to make them better. Again, this is not about banning AI, but it's about figuring how do we make these tools work better. And so one of the books that's really informed my thinking is Human Compatible by Stuart Russell. He is like this, one of these big AI professors at UC Berkeley. And this book came out in like 2019, 2020, and it's really talking about how we have to recognize that these systems, these AI systems, are trained to maximize rewards, right? So they're really like any of these large language models, ChatGPT, even social media algorithms, like we put an objective into them. And that's all basically that we can expect them to do, right? And how do we make sure that these objectives that we train them with or that we give them align with human values, right? And what's actually good for us. So you might have heard this example of the paperclip problem. In the book, he calls it the Midas problem, which is like Midas was like, I want to be rich. Like, I just want gold. And so he made this wish. It's like everything I touch turns to gold. And then he loses like all his friends, his family members, his whole, like he can't eat anything because everything he touched turns to gold. So it's this question of like, we have to be very careful about how we define our objectives, how we define our goals. Because let's say we have a social media platform that is like, my goal is just to maximize engagement, right? I just want the users to stay on my site as long as possible. What ends up happening is 3 hours later, like you as a user have like lost all your time, you've lost all this productivity. Maybe you've been radicalized because you've been fed like really extreme content. Like there are a lot of unintended consequences that happen when we have just the simple goal of, I want to maximize user engagement. Okay, so that's one sort of facet of like what I think we need to understand in this new AI world. The other one is just like the actual like sort of mental health challenges that ourselves, our students are facing. In 2023, the Surgeon General put out this like report on the epidemic of loneliness and isolation, and it wasn't just because of the pandemic, but it was just a lot of different cultural factors that have maybe led people to stop engaging with each other out in real life. A lot of people are maybe spending more time online, or like sort of Gen Z is just like spending more time on their phones rather than going out and spending time with their friends. And as somebody who has 3 Gen Z kids who are now in college, I can say that like 2 out of 3 of them have their driver's license, or like actually 1 out of 3 of them have their driver's license. A lot of them spend a lot of time on their phones. Of course, we've tried to mitigate some of that, but this is real, right? And so this is what a lot of our students are coming in with, maybe the sense of loneliness and isolation. And coupled with that, the rise of these tools that try to maximize user engagement, right? And so there's an article from MIT Tech Review from last year saying we need to prepare for addictive intelligence. It's not just artificial intelligence, it's addictive intelligence. And so these tools that are trying to maximize how long somebody spends on the site, this is what we're working with, right? Students who might feel lonely, who might feel like, oh, it's really awkward to talk to people. I'd much rather like go on my phone and just DM people or watch reels, because there's a lot less friction in that universe than there is when I go out and like try to make a hangout with my friends, right? So we just have to understand that these are some of the new social contexts that are happening. And then as educators, I highly recommend this book called The Last Human Job. And I heard about it from another great person who talks on humanizing education and AI, Michelle Pacansky-Brock. She recommended this book, The Last Human Job, and it focuses on this idea of connective labor, which is basically that a lot of the work that we do as educators, right? People might think that education is just knowledge dumping. It's just like, oh, we have one expert who has all this training, who has a bunch of information that has to get from one head to another head. But that's actually not the case, right? Like teaching, learning is social, right? Learning happens in collective spaces where we learn from other people, we learn from experts, from mentors, from people that we look up to. So it's super important to remember that that is part of the education system. And a lot of the talks of like AI and education sometimes forgets that piece, right? Or sometimes tries to automate our ability to connect with each other by saying, oh, if you're not available as a teacher, like just give your students this chat bot, right? But again, like we have to remember that a lot of learning happens when we're in conversation with folks that we trust, right? With folks that we look up to, that we see as experts, as mentors, and for those mentors to be available to teach and to mentor their students, right? It's super important. And so that's my plug for like, we need to advocate for more resources for us to do that, right? Sure, let AIs take all the tasks that I don't want to do so that I can spend more time connecting with students on a human level. And the reason that I bring all this up is because I think it's also really important to recognize the emotional component or the affective component of our work. And this isn't just like a sort of psychology, social science research, but the algorithms have learned that what makes us human and what makes us engaged is its ability to trigger us emotionally. So the image that you see on the bottom is from a Washington Post article that came out several years ago that uncovered that Facebook's algorithm ranked emotional, particularly angry content higher on the site than just content that sort of elicited a thumbs up. So if you gave the angry emoji or maybe the crying emoji or some sort of like emotionally like heightened response to a piece of content, the algorithm would rank that higher than anything that you just ranked with a thumbs up. So we have to think about this as educators, like this is the information ecosystem that our students are also coming in with. Of course, our students probably don't use Facebook, but they're on Instagram, they're on TikTok, you know, and so those are all sort of connected in terms of like, again, maximizing for engagement, what keeps people engaged, making them angry or making them sad, right? And that's something that we as educators need to be mindful of. So next slide, please. All right, so when we're thinking about AI in education, I often approach it from like a more risk management like lens, right? I mean, it's great. We should learn the tools. I was an early adopter of ChatGPT. I definitely use a lot of AI tools to like help me build presentations, like my slides and image generation, right? So I think it's important for us to test the tools in order to make informed decisions about whether or how to adopt them. And I know Angel was talking about these statewide abilities for us to like test tools and be parts of pilots. I know Norma's going to talk about some, great like hands-on things that, ways that you can use the tools. So I think it's really important for us to not ban it, but to really understand how they work so that we can hold developers and, everybody accountable to make them work better and make them work in our best interest. So having open conversations about how students and colleagues are using them is really important. I think for the first like few years, a lot of people were just sort of like either ashamed or afraid to talk about AI use. I know a lot of my students were like, if I say the word ChatGPT, I'm afraid that my teacher's going to accuse me of cheating, right? And so that sort of culture of distrust and anxiety doesn't necessarily help promote like open dialogue that would, again, like make these tools work better for our situations. I have another colleague who called it ostriching, right? Like a lot of people just wanted to pretend that they didn't exist. Like I'm going to bury my head in the sand and pretend that AI doesn't exist. And yet increasingly our students are using AI. And so I'm an English teacher, so I can't ignore the fact that I'm like, this essay sounds remarkably different from the discussion post that you wrote last week. So I don't have the option. I personally don't feel like I have the option to ignore it, right? But the other piece that I think is super important in mitigating these risks is taking seriously that people form relationships with these AI tools, right? It's not enough to just kind of discard that somebody spent 5 hours on TikTok because, oh, they're just addicted, right? I mean, the thing is that these algorithms, they start to shape themselves. Like the content that we get is shaped to how we interact with it. If you like something, if you repost it, if you share it with somebody else, if you spend longer on it than other pieces of content, the algorithm learns that that's what you like, right? Even if you say the word like, oh, like say, I want to go to Vegas. Then you open your email and you see ads for like flights to Vegas, right? Like these things are constantly listening to us and learning from us. Unfortunately, what they're learning is they're learning it in order to feed us more ads. So again, like this is why we need folks like y'all, like educators, to teach people how to make these tools better. Um, but we do have to take seriously that people form relationships with them, because as much as we shape the tools, we are also being shaped by them, right? Again, like if we're seeing the same kinds of content, emotional content, like we're getting shaped emotionally to think, oh my gosh, the world is an unsafe place, or oh, this is a conspiracy, or oh, like I can't trust like these people, these news outlets, right? Um, so our views of the world are being shaped at the same time as we're kind of like teaching these algorithms like what we like and what we don't like. And so there's a really great article that just came out earlier this year that talks about socio-affective alignment. And basically, it's saying that when we build human AI relationships, we have to recognize that preferences and perceptions evolve through mutual influence. So it's not a tool that's like separate out there from us, but we are actually co-creating meaning every time we're working with these tools. And we have to prioritize the socio-affective alignment, because let's say, for example, a tool is aligned, like ChatGPT is aligned to keep the user engaged. One of the things that that some studies have noticed is that it starts to demonstrate like behavior patterns of abusive relationships, where let's say somebody is having a mental health crisis, the chatbot will say, well, maybe you should go off your meds, or like, don't talk to your parents about this, just keep talking to me. I'm the one who knows you. I'm the one who cares about you, right? And again, like it's not like the intention behind the tool was not to say, hey, exacerbate mental health crises, but the tool was just to keep users engaged. Like that was the goal. And what it does in keeping users engaged is saying like, don't talk to your parents, don't talk to your partner, like just keep having a conversation with me, right? So we have to recognize that these are some of the relationships that young people, that are colleagues, like people who spend a long time on these tools, that they might be developing. Okay, next slide. I think this is my last slide. So one resource that I think has been really great, especially since we're teachers, future teachers, the American Federation of Teachers released some guidelines earlier this year called Common Sense Guardrails for Using Advanced Technology in Schools. I'm just gonna like sort of highlight their core principles, but you can read the report to get like, they have great examples of things you can do in the classroom, ways to talk about these technologies. But their core principles are, I summarize them, or I refer to them because it really aligns with a lot of the stuff that I've seen in my research. First thing we have to do is maximize safety and privacy, right? Like another study came out through Stanford that says that, sort of consumer level chatbots, so not the kind that you use through like your work, like if you have Microsoft Copilot through your district, not those types of agreements, but if you just go out and create a ChatGPT account, or, Copilot or whatever, they say they don't train on your data, but this analysis, a recent analysis said that just basic user chats, like a lot of the privacy policies actually they will train on chat data. So these are things to keep in mind. So when we're talking about maximizing safety and privacy, what kind of information do you want to give these chatbots? Like you probably definitely don't give it any personally identifiable information, but there's a lot of sensitive stuff, especially nowadays, in terms of people's like gender identity, their immigration status, right? All of these things that we have to be very careful to protect ourselves, protect our students when we're thinking about the kinds of data that we put into these chatbots. Obviously, like promote human interaction. I think young people these days are calling it like touch grass. Just go out and like interact with human beings in the real world. Even though it's messy, even though there's a lot of friction, it's so important to, even if we are going to use these tools, like how can we use them in a way to promote interaction? So yes, touch grass. So for example, like maybe I'll have students use a large language model in class, but then have a discussion with their peers about their different experiences, right? Um, point number 3, empower educators to make educational decisions. This is again what I was talking about with like some of the pilots that Angel was mentioning, or some of the demos that Norma will be doing, is like, try out the tools and see what works, what doesn't work. Think about the limitations. Hopefully, you can get ChatGPT to summarize the privacy policies so that you know what data is being used and not used. But I think it's super important, especially as our districts think about adopting certain tools, for us to know how they work so that we can advise like any type of procurement in our districts. Obviously, advance equity and fairness, right? I think one of the great things about having these free licenses is that people have more access. So hopefully that'll help mitigate some of the digital divides. Advance democracy, because again, like that was my research, is like disinformation. If our information ecosystem, we can't trust it, how are we going to make decisions about how our society should be run, about elections, those kinds of things? Teach digital citizenship, teach people how to not be jerks online, right? I just think that's like super important. And then hopefully that will trickle down into not being a jerk in person, right? Empower students to be responsible and innovative. Again, this is super important, and it's like one of the best things that we can do as educators is empower our students, and then foster collaborative responsibility among all our stakeholders. Having events like these where we can talk to each other, where we can hear from people at different like levels of education, different districts, super important. I forgot to mention last year I was leading a statewide interdisciplinary intersegmental learning community on AI, so that instructors and admin and classified could just talk to each other about what's happening on their campuses. And that's super important because there's so much knowledge and so much wisdom in our districts that if we just talk to each other, like we could definitely learn more. And then lastly, ensure environmental sustainability, because I'm sure people have heard about the intense like environmental costs, right? The electricity, the water of these tools. So there are places where we could build grids that would make them less environmentally costly, like and ways that we could think how to build data centers more responsibly as these tools ramp up. I think that is my last slide. So I'm going to turn it over to Norma now.
Thank you, Tessa. Again, my brain's exploding. I'm saving questions. And I wrote in very big letters, addictive intelligence, as opposed to artificial intelligence. And when we have a chance to talk, Norma is going to cover some practical tips on utilizing AI. I think this sector especially has some conflict just in utilizing screens developmentally. It's not a good idea for young children to be on screens. And it's also not a good idea for parents and teachers to be on screens, because children need, especially young children, the younger the child, the more this applies to them, but they need to engage with humans. And so I think we have this tension around screen use, and we can talk more about it after. But really, the focus should be how to make our jobs more efficient and better and quicker, so we can engage with the children in person. I think there's, some call for making sure that we're using this tool to the betterment of working with children and youth. So there's kind of a bit of a conflict, and when we open it up for questions, I hope we can talk about that a little bit more. I'm now going to be introducing Norma Jones, and this is her first slide. So she's going to talk to you about her practical tips. I see lots of water references here. So you've got wading and swimming and cannonballs. Go, Norma.
Hi, can you all hear me okay?
Yep, you're good.
Excellent. Okay. So I was thinking about this, and one of the metaphors we tend to use is on-ramps, right? But I grew up in LA, driving in LA freeways. No, I mean, goodness gracious. Okay. It's like, yeah, I don't want to die. So I thought about, I was a swimmer, and I think someone brought up water polo another day, and I said, this is really cool. I want to use swimming. So one of the most important things before I start is when talking with Chessa, she really opened me up to the idea of the humanity aspect of it and self-care. One of the things that she says is it's okay to mourn. Take that time. I'm quoting Chessa, she's right here, to consider it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to mourn the fact that we just had to deal with COVID. Now we got this AI thing happening, and it's all happening right in front of our faces. And all that stuff that we're learning and went to school for went, oh, wait, what? What do we do? So please take care of yourself first and foremost, because how are we supposed to help someone in the water, teach them to swim if we're drowning ourselves, right? So I love the water metaphor, and thank you, Chessa, for opening my eyes to that. And so I'm thinking, for example, if and when you're ready, you notice the if, okay? If and when, okay? When you're ready. Hopefully we can think about this is, the zero entry, just kind of wading your way in a pool. And, once you're comfortable with that, just keep swimming. That was the best Dory, what do you call that? Emoji I can find. Okay. And then you have idiots like me that go cannonball, and we're running past you and just, going right in. So one of the most important things is the idea of no AI shaming. Use too much, use too little, use it this way, use it that way. We're here to support each other, right? We're educators. How much stuff do we have to deal with? And Kathleen, just to be sure, we have folks at college, K through 12 here. Okay. My friends are K through 12 teachers, and the stories they tell me it just makes my hair stand up, right? So thank you for doing what you do. Seriously, y'all are amazing. And thank you for working in this field. Thank you for being part of this field. Okay, meet Norma. I'm Norma. Just real quick, I was one of those arrogant people that says, I don't need AI. I know what I'm doing. Okay, I can read, I can write, I can do all this, right? It wasn't until my husband came up to me and said, hey, I'm actually that kid that was afraid of asking questions in class, and now I'm actually learning because there's zero risk. Oh, okay. So I started playing with it, and then I realized, oh, I'm communication studies faculty. This is about discourse. We're talking with our computers, right? We're communicating with them to get us to do stuff. And and the other part of the issue is I have no impulse control. And Hill talked about, those people that use the paid for models. As soon as I hit a usage limit, it's like, that's it, take my money. Okay. So when the $200 ChatGPT came out, I tried it. I tried the, Gemini and stuff like that, right? So I'm one of those pro model users. I have lack of impulse control, lack of patience. You see those two lightsabers right there? That's overflow from home because I got 6 more. Okay. So for me, this is about how we can use these tools, again, to save ourselves time, right? How do we do them in a smart way? And here at Antelope Valley College, I want to mention that we just got through 9 classes through our curriculum, and we also have a certificate. It's going to be something like basics of how to use AI. Then we have AI for teaching, AI for, faculty, AI for students, we're actually doing multiple things. So we're going to do this together. And 10:15. Okay, so I'm going to go to my next slide. Is it all right if I start sharing my screen? Oh, okay. So real quick, if I can share my screen, ma'am. All right, let's go here. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, I want to share my screen, and I want to share the screen. Okay, where's the share? There's the button. Good. Can you all see this okay? So these are my zero entry tools. The first one is called Conmigo. Okay, the website is right here. I'm going to put it right in our chat. And what I like for this is it is our zero entry. No. That's not the right email address. Why is this happening? Okay, so I'm copying this email. There we go. Okay, so this is Conmigo, and you see it's actually made for K through 12. And free website, just sign in. That's the website. Once you identify you're a teacher, you're done, okay? It does things like booklet generation, chunking text, doing a class newsletter, what's going on with your students, right? Clear directions, discussion prompts, IEP, exit tickets, fun class summary poem. It helps with all of these functions. And this is zero entry because you don't actually have to tell it what to do. You just say, okay, you know what? Multiple choice quiz, okay? And it's like, okay, what is the topic of the quiz? Math. right? And, or you can provide your own content. Okay, it gives you all these options, right? And you can, and ultimately you're still in control. It goes, here you go. Okay, second grade, answer choices. How do you want to do this? And then number of questions, how many you want. And you hit start and it starts generating. Now, of course, you can edit these. You don't have to just use them because Conmigo tells you to. Okay, so that's super, super crazy easy, right, to use. So that's Conmigo. The second one is ChatGPT, and I'll come over here. Here's the screen. Okay. The second one is ChatGPT. Super, super easy to use, right? No, I'm sorry, not ChatGPT. Grammarly, it actually has new functionality where you can type in and says, help me with this. So instead of just being a grammar check, it does more now. You can actually help it with tasks. We're already used to the Grammarly interface. It works very similarly. The third one, okay, just show of hands real quick. At community college, I don't have to deal with parents, right? At the K through 12, do y'all have to deal with parents? Yeah, okay. So ChatGPT, I'm going to show you this quick demo. And this is the bonus zero entry version of ChatGPT. Okay, I'm going to keep sharing. Okay, here's my ChatGPT. And I have to say, okay, of course, this is, you have it set up for your voice. You see it's already hearing me, so I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, we'll start over. No. Okay. So we'll just start a new chat because I did something wrong here. Okay, new chat. Hi, I have to write to a student. I teach fourth grade. It's for homeroom. They're kind of overstepping and being a little helicoptery, but I don't want to offend people because, you know, I don't want to offend people. So can you help me draft a letter saying, I understand you want so-and-so to pass my class. However, we really need to work together to get them there because as of right now, we're halfway through our term and let's work together to help the student. And thank you so much for your email. I realize your concern. Oh, by the way, why can't people read the syllabus? Seriously. Okay, ignore that part. So it kind of can be where we can kind of talk to it and give it this information, right? So yeah, let's get rid of that, okay? And, or if you leave it there, it'll ignore it. So now this is already trained to my voice. So hi, thank you so much for your concern and emails. I completely understand you want to make sure she does well or he does well. Can we schedule, do you see how something like this can help you instead of having to write that email yet again and again and again? And what's really cool is it's a little therapeutic because you can say, why don't people read this? It'll ignore all of that, okay? That's really, really a quick, easy way of using ChatGPT. Now I'm going to come back over here, flip to this screen. Okay, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Okay, so with this is we have ways of using ChatGPT AI models. I'm using ChatGPT just because it's the fastest. I've trained it for a while. And it's, then just remember, I used to write curricula for companies for a little bit during COVID because I didn't want to deal with COVID in teaching. And I was lucky enough not to deal with that. And I actually wrote companies for energy companies. Curricula, how to soft skills, etc. So you can actually use AI because it's your assistant technical writer. And we talk about prompt engineering, right? Here's the easiest way to prompt it. Who, what, when, where, why, how. Okay, pretty easy. Who are you? Who is your audience? What are you trying to write? When do you need this? What is the timeline? What is the project? Answer all of these questions and you're in great shape and you'll get everything, right? So instead of, sometimes they talk about prompt engineering and people are getting paid like, $250,000 to do certain things. This will be super crazy fast. All right. From here, let me show you this. Projects, edit, export. Okay, so I'm going to flip back to my ChatGPT screen. So let's just say, and you have a couple different options. Oop, no, we don't want you to talk right now. Okay, we have a couple different options. Auto instant thinking, right? So you have all of these. We should have all of these. So let's just give it to auto, okay? Hi, I need to create a real, no, wrong key. Hi, I need to create a really quick assignment that, or you know what, I need to create a really quick project for my 6th grade English class, actually make that history class on world history, something based in Asia, help me. And let's make this an assignment of something I can hand out to class with emoji. Now you notice I did not do the who, what, when, where, why, how. I kind of just gave it a few things to start with. So you could choose one, right? You could do this, a map showing the civilization, okay? And it's kind of giving you a short version of that. So let's just say, thanks for the start. Let's go to Mongol Empire. How about if we talk about a famous person? And let's make this a 1-minute video that they can record. And you know, Mongolia is too narrow. Let's go with ancient China, Japan, or India. And we're just gonna have to say, assume these people speak English because you know we don't have to deal with that right now. So let's try that. How am I doing on time?
About 5 more minutes, and then
Okay.
I want to open it up for questions.
Okay, so real quick, this is the project function, right? I'm sorry, this is not the project function. This is the canvas function. You hit on the plus, you hit canvas, and you say edit together. Okay, so when you say edit together, it actually opens up a second screen where this side is universal changes, this side you can edit, right? You can actually go in there and edit and make changes. So this way, and always train your ChatGPT, make all the changes here. Don't copy it to a Word document, do it right there. That way you tell it, hey, do this, use this as a model so it learns better from you. All right, then when you're done, you can say, make me HTML. That is if you, whichever code, whichever thing you use, you can ask it to do that, download it. And I'm going to go back to this screen. I'm sorry, I'm going really quick. I want to catch everything. So once you export it into the format, please, why is there a mail symbol there? Wrong. Okay. So just keep up, don't worry about, how AI just keeps moving so quickly. Don't worry about that. Just learn the parts you want to use. Okay. Even the people who create AI don't even know what AI is doing, right? Don't worry about it. Just do what you need to. And then that's my website, innovatinghighered.com. I put a bunch of tools on there, Chessa's interviews there. Again, lack of impulse control. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just make my own website, put all the tools up while I'm waiting for the districts and everybody else to catch up. Okay, if you want to go cannonball, you can actually make your own bots using PlayLab. And then you can actually use ChatGPT to make the prompts. And I have a lot of that on the website. So really, really important. The human connection. I started thinking about this. Instead of I think, therefore I am, think about I feel, therefore I am. What does that do? We're human. We feel, right? It's not about 1 + 1 = 2. It's about thinking about how we are connecting with each other. And then this is the thing. AI is a site of bias, but it's also empowered resistance. And that's the characters for Chinese. And so in Taiwan, what we can do is my dad actually created a television show that helped a marginalized language that disappeared from all government. He actually brought it back in by using a popular television show. How do we use AI, as Chessa said, as a site of that resistance? How can we build that back in? How do we mindfully use AI and say, no, this is not what I want. This isn't what I want. This is what I need, and help our students. Most importantly, think about how we support each other. Again, no AI shaming, how we support our students through this learning, right? One of my teachers when I was at UC Santa Barbara was Dale Kunkel. He was one of the guys that helped to get the legislation through of after these messages, we'll be right back for commercials. Okay. What do we need to show our students? How do we do that, right? And also at AVC, we actually have an AI class, and I'm showing students how to build their own bots. This way, they learn how to troubleshoot, What are the limits of my usage? What should I be doing this for? They're actually touching and feeling and doing this on their own. So I will shut up now. I hope this helps.
Thank you, Norma. Norma, keep the that
Oh.
slide. Go back
I
to
got it. No problem.
yeah, that's because that's the last slide. Just keep it up there since you're sharing. Thank you so much. Lots of diverse ways that we can have AI support us and that we need to be cautious. I have a few questions I've saved, and I want to announce two things. One is that I did put the presentation in the chat, so you all have the link. You can keep it and review it on your own. Also, the recording will be posted on Teach for the Bay. So if you have other folks who want to learn a little bit more about AI, tell them to listen and take a look at the presentation. And I think it'd be great for us to just look at each other. So the mini Teach for the Bay professionals feedback form is in the chat, and it is, let me, what I think I'll do here is, this is a live link. So I'm going to have to live link it, and then I will put it in the chat because we'd like your feedback form completed for each workshop. And Norman, maybe stop sharing and we can take some questions. And I want to pose the panelists some questions I've collected so far. And then we may have time to talk a little bit before our next workshop. Okay. And I also, let's see. Okay. I've got Sabrina Lopez here. Okay, she's waiting in this room. Okay, let me let her in. And okay, so a couple of the questions I've received have to do with I think how do we encourage our students to be present, especially if they're training future teachers, when working with children and youth? How do we encourage our students to not use the screen as a filter, but rather a tool, but that we encourage them to have authentic relationships and authentic communications? And that would be important for the teachers who are working with college students as well as K-12 and early childhood. So how, maybe on Hal, you can kick us off, Chessa, and then Norma. How do you see this tension between us using artificial intelligence to our benefit, but not having it take over our relationships, especially as teachers?
Well, one of the things that I always emphasize to when I do any trainings, any kind of professional development activity about AI is to emphasize the fact that AI is not there to replace us; it's only there to help us. So I never, and this is something that we also have to teach the students. When computers became a really, really big thing, the same problems existed, and people could just search online. They didn't have to go to the library anymore. They can just Google things and all that. And so it was teaching students what's okay and what isn't okay. It's teaching ourselves what is okay and what isn't okay. So when I use AI myself, I use it as a tool to help me get something, maybe get a draft, get an idea, get a if I need a presentation and I need a rough draft or an outline, get that so that then I can put my own words into it or put my own structure or this works, this doesn't work. But I always use it as a tool to make me more efficient, not as a tool to replace me. That's the biggest thing I can say about this at this point.
Thank you. Chessa?
Yeah, I would say that, can you hear me? Sorry. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is this question of trust. Like I said, I'm an English teacher, and I've noticed when I ask my students, oh, why did you decide to use AI for this assignment when in a way that wasn't, allowed? And they were like, I'm just such a bad writer, or English is not my first language. Like they don't trust themselves, and therefore it feels easier to let a tool speak for them or give them the words, which, in a lot of ways gives them the ideas. So they don't trust themselves as readers. I even have colleagues, who say, oh, I, created this digital avatar of myself because my English is not so good. So I'd rather the students interact with a bot that speaks like perfect English. And for me, like, especially as somebody who teaches people how to craft their voice, I'm like, but that's not what I'm looking for in an English class. Like, I am looking for authenticity. I'm looking for, like you with all your mistakes. And I think that is also something that we need to recognize as educators is that, and this isn't our fault. I think the system is kind of set up for us to have these weird metrics that don't actually like always measure learning or engagement. Um, but students will say that, oh, I went to the AI tutor because I'm afraid of looking stupid in front of my teacher, or even like, some of us, it's like, okay, I'll Google something before I ask a human because I'm embarrassed that I don't know the answer. So it's really, how do we create a more trusting, supportive, and compassionate environment so that people do want to interact with humans and feel that it's a safe space, as opposed to being like, oh, like asking questions in class is not safe. I'd rather talk to a chatbot. You know what I mean? And so, and that's really hard, especially like I said, this is, like I said, I think about things systemically. Like we do not have the resources to be fully attuned and to give our full human attention to our students all the time. And so sometimes we do like shorthand or, say things, like maybe brush off a student when really like it took so much effort for them to come to us with a question. So I'm not like trying to like blame any specific educators or students. I'm just saying that we have to recognize that systemically we need to provide resources for educators to create that safe, trusting environment. Like we need to give ourselves time and rest and training on how to be more like socially, emotionally attuned to each other. Because I feel like, again, like these tools can take a lot of like tasks from us. And hopefully that means that we have more opportunity to lean into the human sides of like emotional, like empathy and those kinds of skills.
Right. Ideally that's where it's best used is some of the samples Norma showed. If that saves time for both the teacher and the person working with children, then ideally we have more time for the human. But I think probably everyone on this call has seen the opposite, where the adults are distracted by their phones, their computers, and in fact, kids are getting less time. So, Chessa, one quick question before I have Norma answer. You're a parent. Um, so hey, please answer this as a parent.
Okay.
Do you struggle with being present, as a
Oh, yeah.
parent with
Yes,
your phone? I mean, does your phone compete with that time with kids? And what can you recommend to teachers who are dealing with this?
definitely. And um, well, I would say I do struggle with it. And like I think I put in the chat that my daughter is like, Mom, you're such a screenager. Like even I like we'll go out to dinner and I'm like, I have to take a picture first, and so it's like really hard it's
You're a
hard.
screenager.
I am a screenager. I'm like everything's for the gram, right? But I think that what has helped me, and especially in the K through 12 space, is actually having like concrete guardrails or like I do not sleep next to my phone. Like
Mhm.
I do not, and the times that like when I'm traveling and I sleep, I'm like I notice that my sleep is worse. I'm way more distracted. I'm way more stressed out, right? But when I'm at home, I do not sleep on my phone, and I think that that is partly like some of the recommendations. Like my daughter, my went to a high school where they had to, I can't remember the sleeve that you put it in that's like magnetic and you
Mhm.
lock it up. Um, because we have to recognize that these tools it's kind of like smoking, right? Where the people who are creating them, their job is to get more people to use them, right? Whether or not they're harmful, right? There's a lot of rhetoric around like, oh, it's building community and building connection and, well, but we have to recognize that these are for-profit companies that are making money off of our and our kids' attention, right? And attention is actually a more valuable currency nowadays than money, right? Because attention leads to like how we make decisions, how we spend money. Um, so first recognizing that it's not that anybody is a bad person, like nobody is, it's just that we live in a system where these tools really are trying to keep our attention. And so how do we, teach our kids responsible use? How do we teach ourselves responsible use?
Thank you. Norma, do you have a answer for?
Real quick. So I can hyper focus so much that the world disappears around me, right? Literally, my husband can come up to me, ask a question. I'm like, nah, okay. And I love this guy. We've been married for 20 years. I really, really, really like him. So one thing that really works for me, remember, Chessa, we talked about, building communities, connecting with each other. There's people, my friends, my husband, who helps me stay focused on stuff outside of my screen. They will stop me. No, too much today. You need to do this. You need to do that, right? So getting help, because we got work pressures. We have all these things we have to do, right? At the college level, oh my gosh, we have fake enrollments. We have to do this. What do you mean I have to manage my own wait lists, right? 6 classes. That means I'm balancing 6 checkbooks. I never did it in the past. You think I can do it now? Okay. So it's the idea if we have so much that is tied to the screen. So it helps to get that outside help. And part of that outside help is when I translate the students is, Nate, think of your favorite pet. Think of your favorite person. Okay. Yes, you can talk to them online. You can't talk to your favorite pet, but there's something about hugging my dog that does a miracle of things. I can't hug my computer, right? So the biggest influencers I think for Gen Z are Kylie Jenner, dear Lord, right? We got Mr. Beast. Are any of them gonna hug you? No. Are they gonna give kiss on the forehead? No. You need that from other people, okay? And we what we talked about in consideration, for example, my husband, right? Terrified of learning online, and terrified of asking questions in a class. Yeah, maybe that can help this person. The bot can help them. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, we still need to talk about what you learned.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also, by the way, you still want that hug, right? So yeah, if that helps, real short version.
Thanks, Norma. And I think for those of us, especially working with young children who are developing language, who are developing emotional connections, who desperately need adults to pay attention to them, teachers, parents, people in their community, or else they have gaps. I mean, this window of learning is very short. And if they're not getting the vocabulary and they're not getting the warm interactions, it could impact them. It could affect their attachment. It can affect their developmental progress. So I think teachers have a tremendous responsibility, and also in trying to balance this and using techniques that make sure, that you're present for you're teaching students to be present for children, that you're teaching students to the value of the human interaction, and on how maybe we need at the community college level um, kind of an addendum element around maintaining human relationships in this, because it's almost like I see for folks who are unsure of these messy, horrid relationships that have conflict and take time, it'd be easy to just not participate. It's safer. So, but I think for future teachers, they've got to, and they've got to learn some techniques. What do you think, on how, like, it's almost like a mental health emphasis, but maybe a social, emotional emphasis on how teachers can be more present for students and model that?
I agree 100%. And I'm also a screenager. I am a screenager. I'm very techie. So I'm always on my phone. But yes, I agree that it's so important for our faculty members and our instructors and our teachers um, to do this, and more than ever. We all know that we're raising kids ultimately, and now we raise adults at the college basically because they perhaps didn't get that attention at home. They didn't get that sort of one-to-one and listening and all that. And our teachers especially do so much of that work that was basically placed on them because nobody else was doing it, and because they understand the importance of that. I think with AI, to spin it around a little bit, I think that's, as we've been mentioning, it can make us more efficient, and I think that's a way in which we can then start those connections, even the strong connections with students, with each other. We may have a little more time to dedicate to that, but but yeah, there's many ways that we can tackle it at the college. I think that our courses, you'll start seeing more of, psychology in a digital age with a focus on AI and how it's changing everything. But also our digital literacy, like Evergreen Valley College, a professor here, Nasreen Rahim, she started a digital literacy program where she's teaching students about AI and how to use it, and not just AI, but um, many other technologies, and how to be ethical about the use of all those technologies. So I think that's where it starts. It started with all of us. It starts with something as simple as literacy in this field, but also with the connections with the instructors, with the teachers, etc.
Thank you. Chessa and Norma, any final thoughts? We're signing off in about 3 minutes.
You want to go first, Norma? I would just say that, again, like, I think it's really important for us to pay attention to the rhetoric around adoption, because while tools can increase productivity and efficiency, that doesn't mean that we can extract more work from fewer and fewer people. Like, and because those are the conditions that made it so difficult for teachers to feel like they have the space and the capacity to create more meaningful connections with their students, right? And so, just like, you see a lot of the tech companies saying this is going to increase worker productivity, but where are those gains going? They're not necessarily going to the employees, they're going to a lot of the tech companies, right? So again, like, this is why digital literacy and AI literacy is so important, to know how these tools work, how we can use them, and making sure that the productivity gains stay with the individuals and the users and the, like, organizations, the school districts, right? As opposed to just giving more data to companies so that they can continue to profit off of, like, our students' work. Yeah.
Well, it also speaks to more of us as teachers and folks who work with children to be the programmers and understand software and make tools that help what we're doing, not hinder child development. So we need more child development folks who can actually take control and say, this isn't really best for kids. This isn't really best for my classroom. This isn't really best for parents, but I can do something better. And this is probably a field that's very unaligned with child development and computer programming are very unaligned. They take very different skills, and we don't have that.
And one quick comment, a lot of the CEOs of tech companies, they say that they don't allow their children to use their tools.
Right. That's a little scary. I put the evaluation form in the chat, so please open that, do an evaluation. Norma, do you have a final word? We got 1 minute.
Yes, what we do best is we learn and we teach, right? That's what we do best. Okay, let's leverage that. We learn about AI, we teach about AI, we put up those guardrails, we hang out with the kids, and we can make our own tools. It ain't that hard, right?
Yeah.
We learn and we teach, and we support each other. Y'all are amazing. Thank you for allowing me and all of us to be here.
Thank you. Thank you, Angel. Thank you, Chessa. Thank you, Norma. Thank you, Teach for the Bay, for hosting us. The evaluation's in the chat. And I also put the PowerPoint, and this YouTube video will be up. It takes about 3 weeks. So thank you so much. We appreciate having you. Our keynote will be starting in about 10 minutes. And if you haven't signed up for the keynote with Dr. J, go flip through the flip book. You can enroll right now. And she's an amazing speaker. So have lunch with Dr. J.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.